Well, today we're going to add a little Christmas Santa gnome to our dollhouse collection. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy he is to make. All right, I thought I would start today by showing you what pieces are where on the mat and how many of each we have, because there's a little bit of variation this time because of the design I did. So there's 4 pieces up here at the very top of the pattern. Those are the body of the gnome, and that is what we build the entire gnome on. We have 6 shoe or foot pieces here, and right below that are the nose pieces. And there's 3 of those. The 6 shoe pieces will make 2 shoes, so 3 pieces each. We have the hand pieces, 3 right and 3 left. We have 3 beards. We have 3 hats. We have 2 hat brims, and we have 2 pom-poms for the top of the hat. I didn't feel we needed that much dimension on our add-ons this time. For the gift package that Santa's holding, we have 2 boxes, 2 lid pieces, 2 ribbon pieces, and 2 bow pieces. Those will be glued together to form the gift package that he is holding. So I am going to remove these from my cutting mat, and then I'll get set up so that we can start gluing these together. All right, I have all the pieces off of the mat and grouped together. Now, I do recommend when you're doing this yourself at home and you're not trying to film, that you take off the 4 body pieces and you glue them and set them aside, and then take off 3 of the feet and glue those and set them off to dry, rather than getting them all off at once. I do this simply so that I can show you how it all goes together without having the video take forever. So let me glue some of these on camera, and the rest I'll finish up off camera, but we'll talk about where to get the pattern and what some of the rules are. And all of this information is covered in the blog post that is linked in the description box below the video. There's a little paragraph. The first couple of paragraphs will be about the pattern, about how you get it, about what the rules are. But basically, in that blog post, there is a link for a free downloadable pattern. In that pattern, you will get a PDF that you can hand cut, and you will also get a PNG file that can be used with your electronic cutting machine, such as a Cricut, which is what I cut with, or I believe a Silhouette, or some of the others. The pattern is free for you to use. You can make as many of these as you would like. You can sell the gnomes if you would like. You can do whatever you want to with the finished gnomes. Just please don't give away or sell my pattern, because I spend a lot of time on these patterns, and the only compensation I get is when you guys click on the video link on the video or on the blog post. And that's my compensation for this. In order to keep giving these to you guys, I need you guys to all follow the rules. So that's that part. So I like to cut these out of a white medium weight cardstock for a couple of reasons. Number one, I only have to have 1 color of cardstock on hand, so it cuts down on my cost for cardstock. Also, by painting these after they're put together, it disguises that we're using layers and layers of paper, but it also helps to reinforce the pieces, keep them together, and the color of paint tends to be a little more light fast than just cardstock. And please ignore or forgive the kitty, because he loves his noisy toys, and every time I turn on the camera, he digs out a noisy toy. I think he's trying to perform for you guys, so I hope you enjoyed the concert that he's giving in the background. This time he's got the plastic ball with the bell in it. And even if I take away all of them I can find, he'll find another one. So I am gluing these together in units of the pieces that I showed you in the first part of the video. And then when I get this all glued together, I'm going to lay them out flat on my tray. I'm going to put this little square ruler on top of them, and I'm going to put something heavy-ish on top of that, just to make sure that they stay nice and flat while they're drying. Now, I can only leave that on for a while, and then I'll have to take that off the top and let them finish drying in the air, because underneath that weight, they won't dry all the way. And these will need to be dry completely before we go to the next step, because the next step is painting. And to paint them, I lay them on top of some tape to hold them still. And if I lay them on top of the tape while they're still damp, it sometimes peels off large portions of the paper. It even sometimes does when they're dry, but it's a lot less damaging once they have dried. So I am going to turn the camera off and do this rest of this step, because there's a lot of pieces this week, so it's going to take me a while. And when they are dry, I will come back and I will show you the next step. All right, the glue is completely dry, and I've put these onto some tape. Now this was that wide masking tape I had on my table from doing the tablecloth. And since it is extra sticky, I put this against my clothing to de-stickify it a little bit so that hopefully it won't tear these. So I've grouped them by the colors. So let me go over where each piece is. I have the beard, and then the pom-pom and the hat band. Those are all going to be white. I have the shoes. They're going to be black. This is the lid for the box. This is the larger of the two rectangles. And I have the box itself. This is going to be yellow. This will be green. I have the nose and the two hands, making sure I have a right and a left hand. They are going to be a flesh tone, which I'll have to mix because I still have yet to remember to get flesh tone paint at the craft store. And then I have the body, the hat, the bow, and the ribbon from the box, and they will be red. So I'll paint a couple of them, talk to you about what we're doing, and then I'm going to turn the camera off and go ahead and finish painting. So I've got some craft paint here. I've got some white out. We'll play with the white and the black first. Hopefully there's some in this bottle. I grabbed this small bottle. This is almost empty. And it's just try to make sure you get the edges, and when I come back, I will come back later and make sure that I have the edges painted on all the pieces. I'm going to set that brush to the side. Next, I'm going to get the black and a fairly small brush. And the black we're going to do two things with. We're going to do the shoes. Yeah, that's not enough in that lid. I think I need to give this brush a haircut. And the paint colors will be on the blog post, both the ones I use on camera and the ones I do off camera if I finish painting off camera. So we're going to get those shoes painted, his little shoes painted black. Then I'm just going to put just a couple of spots of black on that white beard. I still have paint on here. And I need a little more white because that was a little too aggressive with that black. See if I can get a little bit of white out. I may have to come back and paint over. There we go. I just like to add a little black or a little gray or a little tan or something to the beard just to keep it from being a stark white. I'll go over that again with more white. I've got too much black on it, but I'm going to let it set up a few minutes and then I'll come back and do that. So just make sure you get all your edges painted. Make sure you're happy with the coat of paint. Once the paint is dry, I will come back and we can start assembling. So I'll finish painting these off camera. All right, my paint's had a couple of hours to dry, so it's completely dry. I do recommend you let the paint dry all the way because in the past when I've tried to rush my gluing, I find that sometimes if the paint is not completely dried, and it only takes a couple of hours, less than an hour with craft paints actually. If they're still at all damp though, sometimes the glue can reactivate the paint and you'll have a big mess on your hands. So I've left all the pieces on the tape except the pieces I'm going to glue in this step. We're going to add the beard to the body and we're going to add the two little shoes. I've got my glue out. It's on this little container. And it's okay if a little glue comes out from underneath your pieces. Just don't leave any big lumps. But we are going to put a clear coat of, I'm going to use Mod Podge. over the top of this when it's all done. That helps to make it look more finished. It also helps to seal everything together. And so it'll cover any variations in the finish that you get if your glue kind of splurges out. Now do your best to center the beard, which is easier. It'll be easier for you because you won't be on camera. You'll be able to put your head straight over it. And make sure that the tip of the beard, set side to side, centered as best as possible. And the tip of the beard no further down than the bottom of the body, than that flat edge. I'll mess with that a little bit off camera. Excuse me. And now I'm going to put a little, that is really crooked. I'll fix that in a second. The shoes on the bottom will help that a little bit. Again, lining up the flat edge of the foot with the flat edge of the bottom of the gnome. Try to have them sticking out about the same on both sides. And once you're happy with how it looks, let this glue set up at least 10 to 15 minutes. You want the glue to be set up enough that it won't move when we add the next piece, because if the glue is still really wet, like if I would add the hat now, which is the hat and the nose will be the next step. If I added that now, this beard could get shifted and get all messed up and cockeyed. I can make the feet not be lined up the way I want them. So this step especially needs to be set up. And it looks like my beard is trying to curl, so I'll probably put a weight on this maybe for a little bit while it starts to dry. So I'm going to make sure it's all centered, and I'll come back when it's dry. All right, our glue from our beard and feet has set up enough that nothing will move. It's actually had more time than I planned, but that's okay. So all I've removed from the tape this time is the hat, the nose, the brim of the hat, and the little pom-pom for the top of the hat. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the hat on. I don't know why I was picking that up. So the hat is only going to touch on this area of the hat and this area. It's going to be kind of, there'll be space because it's going to lean downward a little bit there. So I only put glue up here and here. And there should be a little bit of a lean. Now I'm going to put the nose in below the hat now, in case anything needs to be adjusted. And as I say on every one of these videos, but just in case this is your first video watching with the gnomes, this nose piece is what I cut that little divot out of the hat. So in theory, if everything was cut correctly and glued correctly, your nose should snuggle right in to that hole like it was made to fit, because it was. And you can put the hat at whatever angle, you can put it as straight as you want. If you want it to go over a little bit to the side, that's fine. Now we're going to put the brim on the hat. Okay, my hands are going to shake. Good. It's always fun. Hopefully I'm not getting my hair in the camera. And I like to slip the brim down just a little bit over the top of his nose, if I can. That way it covers up any hole there. And now add a little bit of... Now if you're hand cutting this and you don't want to cut out this little tiny circle, just use a hole punch. It's okay if your hat's a little bigger. All right, wipe away any big clumps of glue, and I'm going to let this set up a bit because I don't want to knock my hat around. Or what I'm more afraid of is in moving it around to put the next part on, if this glue isn't set up enough, I might knock that that pom-pom off. But let's go ahead and get the box, the gift box put together. So let me bring this over here. And let's get this off. Now usually I have these hanging off a little bit, but I didn't on all of them. So all that will be left on here now will be the hands. So be careful you don't throw it away before you get those off. I'm just going to tape this down over here, and then that's there. All right, now sometimes there's a little cleanup. You can do it with your fingers, or you can your fingernail, or you can use a knife or a pair of scissors. Now, let's put and depending on where you put your lid, you may need to trim your ribbon. Now this is the wider of the rectangles and this is the smaller one. And I apologize for my hand shaking there. I got a little overly tired today and that makes it worse. Now, try to center this. Come on. That's fine. Now, if you want to paint some details on your bow, you can do that. I'm not going to this time. Come on, stop sticking to my finger. There we go. All right, I'm going to let that glue dry and the glue on the hat dry. And then when both of those are set up, we'll come back and we'll put the package onto our gnome. All right, the glue has dried, so now we can add our package and the gnome's hands onto the front. Just put some glue on the back. Now the glue is not completely dry on here, and that's okay. We will, however, need the glue to dry all the way before our next step. So I'm going to put this, and you can put this as high or as low on your gnome as you want. Kind of try to center it. I see my ribbon is not centered, but that's okay. I can deal with that. And it's up to you where you want the hands to go. Come on. And you can angle the hands a little bit to make it unique to your gnome. Now, our next step will be to put a coat of clear finish. And in my case, I'm using satin Mod Podge. But this glue will need to be all the way dry, because if there were to be any cloudy spots of glue left on my project and I put Mod Podge over them, there's a chance that they would never go clear, and then I'd have this cloudy haze under my Mod Podge. And since I do have glue showing here, I'm going to want that to dry. So I'm going to let this dry possibly till tomorrow. We'll see how the rest of my day goes. But when I come back, we'll put the clear finish on, and then when that dries, we can look at him on the front porch of the dollhouse. So I'll see you when this gets dry. All right, my glue is all dried and everything is the way I want it. So I am going to add a coat of just some satin Mod Podge. And I put it out on my lid so it's easier to get to, and I won't get anything odd into my container of Mod Podge. So I'm going to put a thin, even coat on the front. I'm going to cover this all up, and then when this front coat is dry, off camera, I'm going to flip it around and do the back side. I like to do the back of these because I find they just end up a little more durable that way. They hold up a little better. And try and get it between the layers here where you've got pieces that are, you know, out from the base. Go ahead and get it in there and get all the surfaces. But just don't put too thick of a coat on, because Mod Podge has a nasty habit. I know it's most often happens on polymer clay, but I've had this happen on paper too. When Mod Podge goes on too thick, it sometimes remains tacky after it dries and stays sticky. All right, I'm going to let this dry. When it's dry, like I said, I'll do the back side, and then when that's all dry, I'll move it to the dollhouse porch and we can take a look at it in place. All right, I've moved our Santa gnome to the front porch of the beachside bungalow, along with our Santa items that we've made in past years for the front porch. I think the look is really coming together. What kinds of things would you like to see this year added to this design? Is there anything particular somebody wants me to make for the front porch? Let me know in the comments below this video, and maybe we can get it worked into the schedule. I'd love some hints and ideas from you guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment of things you want to see, either Christmas things that you want to see this year, or just in general, what kinds of things would you like to see in future videos? Be sure to hop over to the blog post and get your free downloadable pattern so you can make your own Christmas gnome to put on your dollhouse front porch or in the dollhouse. If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, be sure and hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!